Chapter 23. The Dragonflies. As they left the Hops farm behind, the professor gestured forward and said, "When you reach that bridge, just keep going straight." But before Azer could ask which bridge he meant, the motorcycle was on the narrow top level of a fairly ordinary scaffolding, lit only partially by the motorcycle's lights. Azer could not see the lower part of the scaffolding or the ground below. With no other choice, he followed the rickety path marked by jingling metal plates under the wheels, hoping the tubular structure underneath would support the motorcycle's weight. Concentrating on the uncertain path, Azer struggled to listen as the professor explained. The Chaos Republic guys have opened this access point to the bunker network to transport their heavy machinery to their underground workshops. They used a Tallboy, an English earthquake bomb from World War II, which accomplished the task like a can opener. It seemed that the professor was only telling half the truth. The Chaos Republic had opened the bunker to create a moat, which would make it impossible for bulldozers and military vessels to approach the building. On top of that, from below they could launch any kind of temporary bridge installation into the air. At last they had solid ground beneath the wheels, but before they could get far, a couple of dragonflies appeared out of nowhere and started buzzing around them. The dragonflies started flying close to Azer's face, one on each side. They flew ahead, then turned around, flying backward, shining their bright eyes like spotlights, which made it hard for Azer to see. He shielded his eyes with his arm and asked, "Professor, what's going on?" The professor waved them off. "Those dragonflies are curious, but they can be pretty annoying. Just ignore them if you can." He explained, "Those dragonflies are like the Chaos Republic's watchdogs." Azer could realize that they might be some kind of security drones. Suddenly, a loud voice boomed from the dragonflies, making Azer pull his head back. "You're in a private area. Turn around and leave immediately." The professor yelled, "We're here to visit Roberto the painter. We're not intruders." The dragonflies moved out of the way and turned around to light up the path. They said in unison, "Good evening, Professor. We didn't recognize you with that helmet on your head. Please go ahead and have a nice evening." One of them added, "I hope you brought Felix with you." The second dragonfly replied angrily, "I don't want that dumb cat near me again. Last time it was here, it attacked me and my wing still needs to heal." Azer was surprised that the dragonflies knew the professor and his cat Felix. Guiding the bike from above, they led it into an old industry container used as a bike garage. After parking the bike, they walked toward a big iron gate. Azer was about to knock on the gate when the whole gate started to roll aside. On the other side, there was a self-driving electric golf cart waiting. It went through a huge old machine hall built before World War II. Some big machines remained, but most had been replaced by tables and chairs, giving the hall a library feeling. Young people were working on their projects under green study lamps on the tables. Azer could smell wet paint from Roberto's studio even from far away. When Roberto saw the professor, he said, "Hello, Professor, it's been a while." They got off the cart and the professor introduced Azer. "Roberto, meet my good friend Azer from Spain. He's visiting Berlin." Roberto put the brush in a cup on the table and wiped his hand on his apron. He was still holding the palette in one hand as he shook hands with Azer with the other, asking, "Which part of Spain are you from?" Azer replied, "Benalmádena, near Malaga." With a smile, Roberto said, "You probably know Picasso was born and raised in Malaga. He's my favorite painter of all time." Azer looked at the wet painting on the easel and said, "To me it looks like a real Picasso." Roberto smiled and replied, "It's definitely a Picasso, but the artist didn't even know about it." Azer thought Roberto was joking. But then they noticed Picasso's signature in the corner of the painting. Roberto continued with a grin, "Some folks in the bunker underneath are trying to bring Picasso himself back to life." Azer couldn't tell if Roberto was joking or not. Roberto turned to the professor asking, "Professor, how can I help you? Annabella called a moment ago and said you needed to talk about something important." The professor said, "Azer has a photo you might be able to enhance." Azer showed him the dark screen of his phone, explaining, "My friend was kidnapped and this is the car's license plate." Roberto felt moved to hear that. He looked at the dragonflies soaking up paint from his palette, then spraying it playfully on a blank canvas. Annoyed, he said, "Stop wasting the paint and ruining the canvas." Giggling, one of them said, "It wasn't me. It was YY." The other chimed in, "XX convinced me to do it." Roberto said, "Enough chatter. Where's ZZ?" YY replied, "Yesterday he stayed too long near those canahop plants. Now he's been sleeping all day." Roberto instructed, "Go get Alex for me." YY asked, "You mean Pixel Alex?" XX giggled, "Pixelex, haha." Roberto nodded, "Yes, Pixelex. Tell him it's urgent." The dragonflies chorused, "Yes, sir," and flew off giggling. Soon they returned, now a trio with one trailing behind. The first two said, "He's on his way."